Chapter 34. Married to an Immigrant. United States immigration law stated, aliens who entered a valid marriage with a United States citizen made them an immediate relative under the U.S. immigration laws. In 1992, 1 million immigrants in California had become overstays, meaning they entered the United States legally and overstayed the visa requirements. Maria was considered an overstay. So, California was the perfect place to get married. Maria's temporary visa had expired, so that every detail would require flawless execution. If everything went well, Maria would enter the immigration process having documents showing a marriage license and marriage certificate. I promised Giovanni Colangelo that Maria and I would return to Toronto in February as man and wife. I had 8 months to keep my promise. However, it would be a hectic exercise. The first step was to have Maria forward her Toronto mailing address to my Chicago address. The second step meant visiting the Civic Center in Santa Ana, California, to obtain a marriage license and certificate. Maria was not interested in the little details and enjoyed buying a wedding dress. On January 27th, 1992, we drove through the winding road up towards the Santa Ana, California courthouse, where homeless people protected tents and possessions while extending dirty styrofoam cups, hoping that money would fill them. I gazed intently beyond the tent dwellers and saw the municipal castle, which held our future in its hands. Maria wore a white chiffon satin wedding dress, draped softly over her shoulders, tightened at the hips, and flowed out on the tips of her shoes. Her soft hands held a pink bouquet, and a satin tiara graced her light, streaked, reddish-brown hair. And she looked like a princess. Most in the room stopped what they were doing and noticed us as we sat down. The marriage office was timeless, with immigrants holding identification, sitting in chairs waiting patiently to be married, their hope being the same as forefathers who sat before them, a desire for the American dream. I thought about Giovanni and Carmela Colangelo, and my soon-to-be wife, Maria Colangelo. I thought about the Mexican children with a dreamer's opportunity at public education, and the possibilities before them in the United States of America. A future president could be a descendant of an immigrant sitting in the Santa Ana Municipal Building. A prominent Hispanic woman stood behind the counter reviewing papers, and another staff member would ask her a question that suggested that she was important. Occasionally, she gazed at Maria sitting on a brown folding chair in her wedding dress, and a soft grin appeared. So I approached her. "Good morning."
Buenos dias.
"Very beautiful, yes?"
Sí.
she replied. "We would like to be married, and I would like to speak to the Deputy Commissioner of Marriage,"
That would be me.
she replied firmly. I cleared my throat and said, "We've come from Chicago to be married,"
Why Santa Ana? Why not Chicago?
she asked. "I heard that the Commissioner of Marriage is a compassionate soul, wise, and sees beyond borders."
And you can't get a marriage license in Chicago, correct?
"Yes," I replied. Her eyes pierced, and she asked,
Are you in trouble?
"Yes, we are deeply in love," I said, "and cannot live apart, and wish to be married today." Her eyes hesitated, and I moved so she could see Maria in her beautiful wedding dress again. I whispered, "This will be Maria's only wedding day, and you will be our most important guest. We will have children who will add to the betterment of others." She sighed, buried under work, and reached for the license forms.
Very well. Go to your beloved and fill out these papers, and I will call you when I'm ready to marry you.
When I returned to Maria, she asked,
What happened?
"We're getting married today," I replied.
Really?
"Yes," I whispered, as she rested her head on my arm. The window showed the homeless mulling around the grass, guarding possessions when the sprinkler sprayed, creating bedlam, and the destitute scurried to relocate assets from getting wet. I flashed back to an earlier time zone and remembered sleeping in my car and wondering, why was I inside the Santa Ana Municipal Building getting married to Maria, and the homeless hadn't any shelter? Sniffling a little, Maria looked up at me and asked,
Are you crying?
A little bit, I said.
Why?
She asked. I got the girl I wanted. It always felt like this is supposed to happen. The Commissioner of Marriage announced,
Maria Colangelo and Jim Heaney?
"That's us," I whispered. At the counter, the commissioner said,
You are much too beautiful, Maria, to be married at this window. There is a floral garden outside where I will perform the wedding vows, and I will meet you there in 10 minutes.
We stood admiring the flowers, and some homeless people approached, and Maria said,
We are getting married here, and I want you and your friends to be our guests. Please invite everyone.
The Justice of the Peace appeared with the Bible in hand, and she was surprised to see the garden surrounded by the homeless.
Our attendees.
Maria said. We took our vows together, and Maria said,
I do.
and I promised, to love Maria until my last breath. We were content, and on the plane ride home, I thought about having children and creating the circle of life.